Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another exciting virtual tour with Pretty Gritty Tours. I am your host tonight, Chris, and I want to welcome you on behalf of Tacoma Sister Cities organization, as well as our generous sponsor for the evening, Umpqua Bank. Because of these two organizations, this tour has been made possible tonight, so a round of applause for them moving into this. If you guys have questions, comments, let me know. I'm glad that some people are already excited. That's what I'm looking forward to here. I feed off of your energy, obviously. And I'm very excited for tonight. I think this is a particularly interesting one. And frankly, it's one that has sort of lingered in my mind for a while, because I think people are always curious, about what is a sister city relationship. You walk into a city, you drive through a city, you see it say like sister city with whatever, but there's so little understanding about what a sister city is or who qualifies or whatnot. So with that, let's jump into it. So yes, Sister Cities organization is the big one we're going to be talking about tonight. And of course, where would we be without thanking our sponsor, Umpqua Bank? Now, the thing that makes this particularly interesting and engaging tonight is going to be this map right here. I'll make this bigger for you guys really quick. This is a map of the markers throughout the city. As part of the sister city relationship, there has been an exchange of gifts back and forth over the years since the 1950s, and they are placed throughout the city of Tacoma. But I find that very few people know where they are, or if they've seen them, they're not even really aware what they are. So that's what we're doing tonight, is revealing the secrets of the city to you. In particular, what about the markers for Tacoma? But before we do that, let's just have a brief moment where we talk about what the heck is a sister city, right? So the sister city concept comes after the conclusion of World War II. It's the 1950s, and President Dwight D. Eisenhower is like, let's start fostering peace. We need to create a stronger community. We are better together than we are apart. And I have a brief clip sharing that moment when he announces it at his press conference.
Most worthwhile purpose there is in the world today, to help build the road to peace. How do we dispel ignorance? How do we present our own case? How do we strengthen friendships? How do we learn of others? In this way, I believe, is the truest path to peace.
There you have it. Eisenhower is attempting to create better relationships throughout the world, and what better way to do it than city to city, he figures. And so a sister city is any time that two cities of general sort of size, economic development, whatever, if they have something in common, they get together and they kind of date. You feel it out. You're like, hey, I don't know, do you want to be a sister city? And maybe I do. What's in it for me? And there's some back and forth on that, because there's always a communal exchange that's involved in the entire process. But if they agree to it, they start walking down this path together, and hopefully it's a beneficial relationship. And certainly with the case of Tacoma Sister Cities, it has been beneficial from the very start. And so as these cities develop together, there's not only an exchange of gifts, but an exchange of programs and people. Exchange students and cultural ambassadors will go back and forth. And it becomes this long-standing relationship between the two cities to not only encourage economic development, to, as Eisenhower said, to promote peace, to dispel ignorance, to show people that they have so much more in common. And when you look at it of the lens of a post-World War II era, that becomes so fundamentally important. To go from this stage where you're thinking of someone as your enemy to now understanding that you actually have a great deal in common, and to move past that wartime rally. And so each year, thousands of diplomats represent the United States around the world, promoting democracy and understanding. And instrumental, foundational to that whole relationship is the Sister Cities International Program and its work. There's, I believe, I'm trying to think here now, I think over 450 sister cities around the world, just with the US, and that's in over 140 countries currently. I don't have the exact figures right now, but it's a lot, and that's what you need to know. So let's look at why that's important really quick. I think the funny stuff is like boring and dull in Scotland and Oregon became sister cities unofficially, and then bland in Australia got in on the whole thing. That's just a funny time when sister cities get together, but it is actually a very influential and impactful relationship. To give you an example of that, current president of China, Xi Jinping, was an exchange student in the sister city of Muscatine, Iowa. It was a sister city with his hometown growing up in China. So he went there as part of an exchange program for agricultural students, and it deeply impacted his life. In fact, after he became president of China, he wanted to go back and visit his host family in Muscatine, Iowa. And that small town has benefited from great economic rewards of having hosted their sister city exchange student, now president of China. On a more micro scale, Xi Jinping was also the main ambassador and delegate for the small town Fuzhou, China, which is a sister city with Tacoma. And so when he signed that agreement, he ends up coming to Tacoma later and bringing with him a great deal of Chinese exchange students who have studied at Lincoln High School, and then extended an invite for 100 students from Tacoma to return to China and be a part of that cultural exchange program, allowing them the opportunity to have the same sort of influential experience that he had growing up. And I've got a brief clip of that, legendary moment happening here in Tacoma.
China! We love China!
Students from several Tacoma high schools lined the street outside Lincoln High, giggling and giddy, documenting the once-in-a-lifetime visit that lies in store.
I'm really interested in international politics, and this was a big opportunity for me to see one of the most powerful men in the world.
Really looking forward to see a president, up here in front of me. Yeah, so it means a lot.
These students are both nervous and excited about meeting President Xi Jinping. They strive to make a good impression and make him feel welcome. The Lincoln High School football team, the Abes, gave their special guest a dose of America's most popular sport by presenting him an American football and a personalized jersey.
So it's a big deal, and it's happened here in Tacoma. And yes, we've already got a great one from Patty here. It's exactly like an arranged marriage. You take, your prince and princess from two different places, you hook them up together, and then that way, if conflict ever does arise, you're much more likely to negotiate your way through it because now there's a communal bond there. And by creating the ability for these sister cities to grow together and have a shared history, you're discouraging future conflict, and you're really broadening people's horizons, which at the end of the day is the most important part here. So this is just US-China sister city relationships. There are sister city relationships with cities and countries all around the world. It's an ever-expanding network. For us, it's important to talk about Tacoma's sister cities. And there are 13 of them highlighted here on the map right now. And this was an interesting story, I think. So the first sister city relationship we had was with Kokura, Japan, back in the 1950s. And it came about because Kokura's next door neighbor had a relationship with a town in Virginia. And Kokura was like, oh man, that looks good. Maybe we should get in on that. So they started shopping around. They got on their sister cities Tinder profile. And sure enough, there was Tacoma, and they're like, maybe we'll look into this. So Tacoma and Kokura forged this sister city relationship, and the rest is history. One brief anecdotal moment on that is that Kokura and that next door neighbor end up sort of hitting economic hard times around the same sort of period in their history. And they're like, why don't we just become one big city? And thus Kitakyushu was born. So officially, Tacoma's oldest sister city relationship is with Kitakyushu, but they would have been called Kokura in the early days. So if you see on any of the historic photos or slides where it says Kokura, just translate it to Kitakyushu and you'll be just fine. This is from the first Kitakyushu delegation that arrived here in Tacoma at the beginning of our sister city relationship. Here they are cruising on Commencement Bay. And second from left there is the mayor at the time, Ben Hansen. And this was July 16th, 1959, right after we became sister cities with Kitakyushu. The relationship has continued throughout time. This is from 1962 with then Mayor Harold Tollefson sort of showing off good things that Tacoma has done. But to really sink into it, we got to look at the markers. So this is the predominant map of markers throughout the city of Tacoma. We could go on for days. I could talk about markers and relationships and historic anecdotes for like a week, but I'm not going to do that to you guys. I want to distill this down to the beautiful moments. So here's our 13 sister cities that Tacoma has. As I mentioned, the most prominent and important is with Kitakyushu. And to introduce you to our longtime sorority friend here, I have a brief clip to introduce Kitakyushu. What I love about this video is that it shows Kitakyushu both as an industrial port town, but as a center for art development and culture in China's coastal area. And what I love about that is that it reminds me of Tacoma. And I don't think it's coincidental that Kitakyushu as this industrial port town and Tacoma as an industrial port town found each other in the murk and haze of trying to become a peaceful community post-World War II. And it seems, it's difficult, I think, for people in younger generations to really comprehend, but having just come off of World War II and to still be sifting through the aftermath of the concentration camps here in America and trying to figure out our place in the world and with each other, having a relationship with a Japanese city was massive. It was such a huge step forward. And to continue doing that today is really, I guess it can't be overstated. So in 1961, Kitakyushu sent what I think is the most prominent and well-known of the sister cities markers throughout the city of Tacoma. And it's this Shinto shrine here. It's a miniature version. The Shinto shrine in Japan is designed to be a house where a Shinto spirit or god lives. And they constructed this specifically for the city of Tacoma. In fact, the artist Toyosuke Nogami, who was a resident of Kitakyushu, was commissioned to hand carve the shrine, and he journeyed up into the Japanese Alps and looked for the best cypress for this job, put it all together, and then shipped it piece by piece. And it arrived here in Tacoma and then was originally placed, as you see here, in the solarium of a city building before it was eventually rededicated out to Point Defiance Park in the 1980s, which is where I think most people are familiar with it today. So this is it right out there across from the Japanese Pagoda and Point Defiance Park. And you can see it also came with both the torii gate, that very traditional Japanese gate there, and these two lanterns. And unfortunately, the lanterns were damaged when they were being transported, but they were patched back up before they were moved in the 1980s. And here you can see, ooh, that's the wrong one there. This is the one we're looking for. So this is an active park down there. And while I think it's the most prominent example of our sister cities gifts and markers, not everyone really understands what they're looking at when they see it. But it was just, you know, a love token from our sister city representing the strength of that bond and relationship. And that's what's beautiful about sister cities, is that there are these markers to commemorate the relationship, the same way that you would give like an anniversary piece of jewelry. But the real hard work goes into the relationship that continues day to day. There are exchanges, like I said, of students. So the sister university to Kitakyushu University is University of Puget Sound here in Tacoma, and there are cultural exchanges of students all the time. And they can have an impact just on that individual's life or something as far ranging as, for example, when President of China, Xi Jinping, showed up here in Tacoma because of a sister city relationship. It's impossible to know just the butterfly effect of that experience looking out there. But a good way to remember the relationship are with these markers downtown and around. The shrine prompted us in 1961 to send a totem pole back to Kitakyushu as our gift to them. And this is Bud C.E. Cairns. He was an English teacher at Stadium High School, a graduate of Pacific Lutheran University, my alma mater, and he was commissioned to carve this 35-foot cedar pole for the city of Kitakyushu. And you can see what he designed it to do was tell the story of Tacoma and to represent the same sort of cultural liaison that the Shinto shrine represented for Kitakyushu to us. And it's difficult because you can only see the bottom of the totem pole here. I have yet to find a full 35-foot picture of it, but it's supposed to represent commercial fishing, forestry, lumber, Tacoma Seaport. There's even the Narrows Bridge on there. And so Big John, or Bud there, who carved the totem pole, actually went as part of a delegation to Kitakyushu to present the totem pole. And unfortunately, it arrived late. It got lost in shipping at sea. And then eventually the Marines came and helicoptered it in to the city of Kitakyushu to make sure that it would arrive in a somewhat timely fashion. But this was the first major exchange between Kitakyushu and Tacoma as far as gifts. When we're looking at cultural exchanges, these three strapping gentlemen here are part of the Kitakyushu exchange of students. So they went to Kitakyushu University. They are here right now receiving keys to the city, which I've always thought is kind of cool. I don't know what a key to the city opens, but it's rad. It's not going to fit on a keychain. And this is Mayor Ben Hansen in 1961, I believe, presenting the keys to the city and encouraging more people from Kitakyushu to show up here in Tacoma. As a gift back to the people of Kitakyushu, they sent, I believe, 500 Douglas fir seedlings from the city of Tacoma out on United Airlines back with these gentlemen to be planted as an ever-living and evergreen symbol of our relationship with Kitakyushu. And to the best of my knowledge, the majority of them are still growing out in the forest area outside of Kitakyushu, but I'm still looking on the exact location. If anyone knows, let me know in the comments down here. I'm just checking in really quick because you guys are giving me some good stuff tonight. So those are the main relationship gifts, I think, when we think of Kitakyushu. There are more that have existed in the area that have vanished over time. While not an official sister city gift, the Korkura restaurant that used to be located in the bottom floor on the Broadway side of the Winthrop Hotel in downtown Tacoma was obviously named after our sister city and was the finest and most authentic Japanese cuisine that you could get in the area in the 1960s. Unfortunately, it was sold in the 1970s along with the Winthrop Hotel when they transferred it to apartments. Sylvia Sass here in the middle is one of the instrumental people to the Sister City relationship. She was the chairman of the Sister City Committee early on, and here she is with a Japanese scroll that was being presented of the bridge in Kitakyushu, which has a striking resemblance to our very own Narrows Bridge here in Tacoma. Again, I don't think coincidental. As time has gone on, more and more of these gifts and markers have popped up. So if we're looking back at our map here really quick, if you look right underneath the globe icon, sort of center right down there, is the garden. So right off of Market Street next to City Hall in downtown Tacoma, there's this small, unassuming garden that was given as a friendship garden to the city of Tacoma by our sister city, Kitakyushu, for the 60th anniversary, which let me see if I can get you another shot of that one right here. Yeah, and it's got this very signature stone, which you're going to see another one here in a moment, so mark it in your memory. But a year or 10 years before, Kitakyushu also gave these Japanese snow bells to the city of Tacoma, and they are currently in the park down here. What I think is fitting about this gift and marker and its location is that it's right next to Ben Gilbert Park, which is not a sister city gift. It's not affiliated with Kitakyushu at all, but it's got this mural on the back of it here of the Baseball World Series from October 1926. And what I love about this mural is that it represents so much of Tacoma's Japanese population. And it's right on the edge of what would have been Tacoma's Japantown, essentially. There was a huge population of Japanese national or NISA or second generation Japanese living in this whole section of downtown Tacoma with shops and artisans. And during World War II, that entire area was vacated. All of those people were sent to camps in the area. And then when they came back, it was illegal for them to return to a lot of these areas. And in fact, a lot of the NISA who came out of these camps had to find places to live in sort of like agricultural areas outside of the Tacoma area where they were leasing land from the Puyallup tribe. Patching up that relationship is exactly what Eisenhower was looking for. Trying to find a way to move forward from the horrors of World War II is the most instrumental task to the Sister Cities mantra and motto. And to have this friendship garden right next to the vacant edge of where Tacoma's Japantown used to be is just too perfect of a metaphor for me not to address. So I think it's very tactfully placed, and I don't know if it was done intentionally. But the success of Sister Cities became so prominent that it wasn't just cities that were now becoming sistered up. Ports have the opportunity to do so as well. So Kitakyushu's port and the port of Tacoma became sister ports in 1984. And that was right at the 100-year anniversary of Kitakyushu's port. As when they turned 100 years old, they went around shopping for a new partner on the market, and they settled on us. We are very fortunate. So 5 years later, they sent us this gift, which is right down in the Judge Jack Tanner Park. I'll give you guys the map here really quick so you can see it. It's listed as compass. It's an anchor compass on that sort of sun disk down there. And it's right off of Ruston Way. If you're going down Ruston Way, it'll be on the Commencement Bay side there. And this was just a classy gift because for their 100-year anniversary, they sent us a present, which I think is definitely the classy move. What I love about this too is that it shows Tacoma and of course Kitakyushu together in one port hemisphere down there. It's got the plaque commemorating it on the bottom of it. And then we, as a goodwill gesture back, sent yet another totem pole. And I don't know the artist who carved this one, but as you can see, it's significantly less than 35 feet, but it also represents the narrative of the Tacoma area. And so Port of Tacoma shipped this over to Kitakyushu's port. And unlike the first totem pole, it arrived right on time. But if you're a port and you ship something and it arrives late, that's just bad business. So they really had a lot to prove on that one. And I'm glad that they came through. When we're looking at that relationship though, it was huge. And what I love about this here is that you can see the color and the artistry that went into that totem pole. And I haven't found a colored photograph of the original totem pole that was sent over to Kitakyushu as the first marker and gift. But I hope that it was as colorful and beautiful as this one here. One of the other places that represents the sister city relationship in a different light is the Japanese garden down in Point Defiance Park. So it's just on the far side of the pagoda from where the Shinto shrine is. And they really couldn't be more polar opposite. The Japanese garden that is downtown in Point Defiance, so I guess technically not downtown, was the Capital District of Washington State Federation of Garden Clubs, which is a mouthful. But they designed this as American landscapers, and it is not in any way a representation of a true Japanese garden. However, as the development with the sister cities and our relationship has grown, and now there's this special partnership, Tacoma Sister City Kitakyushu has designed a new plan for our Japanese garden. So they're going to transform it from this into a genuine Japanese garden that follows that same sort of flow and design that you would expect from a traditional Japanese garden. Which is the perfect opportunity to encourage you guys to become a part of the narrative of this whole thing. Sister Cities organization here in Tacoma really brokers a lot of these relationships and works tirelessly to ensure that there are opportunities for those in our sister cities to come to Tacoma, as well as for people from Tacoma to go and visit our sister cities, but also for the beautification and preservation of a lot of these markers and gifts. If you are interested in becoming a part of Tacoma's narrative on that, you can go on the link down here, which I will also put in the comments on the side here towards the end. But TacomaSisterCities.org volunteer will give you the best opportunities to really become involved. And there is a push right now to fundraise to make sure that we can take these plans from the Kitakyushu design department and institute them as a reality here in Tacoma. And when you look at the beauty of this park, I'm excited to have it show up down here. You can see the redesign of the pond down here as well. So it's going to have that Shinto shrine, the torii gate, and the fountains. You can see on the right there, a larger pond with a different flow to it. And on the far left there is going to be a cycling waterfall to the entire place. So they're really doing the most for this whole thing. And I think it's going to turn out beautifully. It'll also be right next to Kitakyushu Street. During one of the back and forth delegations between Kitakyushu and Tacoma, they actually renamed one of the streets in Point Defiance Park Kitakyushu Street, and it's tiny. You could miss it. But if you're sort of in between the ferry and the Shinto shrine, you're getting warm. I'm not going to give you guys the exact location on it. I think it's a fun opportunity to encourage you guys to actually get out and look around for some of the stuff going on out there. But it's out there, I promise. It's also next to a ginkgo tree that was given to us by Kitakyushu. And if you know what a ginkgo tree looks like, it's going to be an easy one to find because it's just sort of out there in the other Pacific Northwest trees in that sort of grassy zone in between the shrine and the roundabout. But there isn't a marker on it. So if you pass by it, you might just be like, huh, what is this ginkgo tree doing here? Well, let's talk about the rest of the markers in the area here, and I'm going to give you a preview of the ones that we're looking at. So there is the shrine in downtown, or I don't know why I keep saying downtown, in Point Defiance Park, but there are several others. One of my favorites, just because of my deep connection with South Korea, because I lived there for a couple years, which is a perfect example of how an exchange program can change your heart forever, is with our sister city, Gunsan, Korea, which has been our sister city since 1978. And again, for a birthday celebration, for the 100th anniversary of Washington becoming a state, the city of Gunsan sent to us this marker, which is right on Ruston Way waterfront. I'll show you guys the map for this one. It's very close to the anchor that's down there. You can see it right there, Korean pillar in between ginkgo and compass. Bear in mind, because some of these are very close to each other, they're not quite that far apart on the map. I don't want you to be like map questing this exactly. But this was installed, and the mayors of Tacoma and Gunsan gathered together here with the Gunsan Sister Cities Committee to begin the celebration. It was the 40th anniversary of the sister city relationship, and it was a gift for the 100-year anniversary of Tacoma. And this is what it looks like today, right down there on the Ruston Way waterfront. Give you a little closer shot of it right down there. Classy stuff. And it's right next to this ginkgo tree. And the Kitakyushu ginkgo tree, like I said, is in that wide open field sort of near the tennis courts and the pagoda area. This ginkgo tree, which is, again, very high contrast from the other trees in the area, is just a stone's throw away from the Gunsan Korean monument right down there on the waterfront. This is what it looks like. And they're beautiful trees, absolutely gorgeous. And this was planted by the mayors of both Gunsan and Tacoma, respectively. There they are, looking classy. And once they dropped that tree and they erected this marker here, which you may remember from earlier, it has the exact same stone as our sister city Kitakyushu stone in the Friendship Garden up by City Hall, as well as the same sort of plaque here. Unfortunately, this plaque is missing. So if you go looking for this marker, you will find the stone and you will find the ginkgo tree, but this is what it will look like today. So I don't want you to be led astray if you're down there looking for the markers. You'll find them all, but you'll be missing that plaque down there. But if you're interested in what it said, this is it. Now, we sent a marker back, and not wanting to be outdone, we went for stone this time as well. So this is the gift from the city of Tacoma to Gunsan, which was presented in 2008 on the occasion of the 30th anniversary. And if you visit Gunsan, it's actually next to Umpqua Lake Park on the edge of town there. And in fact, Mayor Woodards visited and then planted a camellia tree right there at the same time period there. So that's a little bit about the markers. I've got a few more that I'm going to take you through, but I also want you to understand that this is a dynamic and living relationship as well. It's not just the markers throughout Tacoma and our sister cities to commemorate the relationship, but there's also a lot about what does this exchange look like in a more real sense too. So 2020, there was a showcase to encourage youth artists globally to look at one world out of many, we are one, was the quote on the prompt they were given. And to sort of look at their personalized views of unity and understanding themselves as both a part of a global community and as an individual. And the art that was submitted through Sister Cities International was also trickling through because Tacoma Sister Cities organization, as well as our sister cities, became partners in that. And so this is the art that was produced in Gunsan, our sister city down there in Korea. And this was art from Tacoma that was on display out in Gunsan. And then a little bit about the relationship there. And then this is art from Gunsan that was displayed here in Tacoma. So youth on both sides got the opportunity to see what everyone was doing. And what I thought was really cool about this was that not only was it encouraging, kids to think about themselves as members of a global society and sort of how peace and additional cities could impact that, but there were cash prizes to it. So incentivize them young. And I think that's how it's done. And programs like this are made possible through the organizations like Tacoma Sister Cities being able to sort of encourage and foster and find spaces. And so again, if you're interested in being a part of that story, TacomaSisterCities.org is where you'll find all the information for that. And if you're joining us late, they are the major benefactor to this program tonight and are, as the name might suggest, instrumental in helping to foster these sister city relationships, as well as the fact that all of this has been made possible by our generous financial sponsor, Umpqua Bank. So thanks across the board. When we're looking at just how the relationship works back and forth, something that I think is interesting is actually with our sister city, Oslo, Norway. And there is a marker in Point Defiance, not Point Defiance, but Wright Park. And this was originally built not because of sister cities, but just because of the strong Norwegian connection to the area. Wright Park was originally almost exclusively landscaped by Norwegians. And to commemorate that exciting relationship, in 1913, the Norwegians of Tacoma erected this statue bust of Henrik Ibsen, famed Norwegian playwright. However, on the 99th anniversary of Norway's separation from Denmark, this was a big deal down here. And then it was rededicated in the 1980s. 1987, this statue bust was rededicated by members of Pacific Lutheran University and a delegate from our sister city, Oslo, Norway, visiting here. And they got together with Metro Parks and they rededicated it just as a way of giving a nod to that sister city relationship. They cleaned it up, they repositioned it, they made it more accessible to the people in the area. And so it was not an official Sister Cities gift or marker, but it is one of the many that sort of gets looped into that envelope. There are a multitude of parks, murals, art exchanges, and markers throughout the city of Tacoma that could go under the Greater Sister City Exchange. And while the main official ones are represented on the map right here, there are so many more that could go under that big umbrella there. Ooh, thank you. It's pronounced Ulasand, which you would think I would know better on that. Thank you so much. We have a good question here. What happened to the plaque down on the ginkgo tree on Ruston Way? And unfortunately, I don't know. I reached out to Metro Parks about it, but it has been missing for a while there, and no clues have turned up as to where it could have possibly gone. If anybody knows, I feel like we should have like a hot tip hotline on the tour tonight. If you've seen this plaque, let us know. Brovary, Ukraine is another one of our sister city relationships. And I think it's one of the best examples of how just beyond beautifying markers, there is something really genuinely important about the relationship that these sister cities have. And money was raised by Tacoma as part of our sister city commitment to bring medical assistance to one of the villages on the outskirts of our sister city there in Ukraine. And they had about 6,000 residents out there, and they had no ambulance. They had no way to get to the hospital in the case of emergency. And so Tacoma raised the money to buy one of Tacoma's ambulances and then send it over to the Ukraine. So now Brovary's small village on the outskirts there has this ambulance out there. And there was a Slavic church in the community that was instrumental in helping to raise those funds. And this is, I think, just one of the like iconic moments where a sister cities relationship is more than just pageantry. It's not just exchanging plaques or mayors shaking hands. It had real world consequences and impacts towards brokering peace, towards creating a community that, while worlds apart, is deeply connected. It's like we were talking about earlier, from that brokered marriage, from an arranged marriage, developing into a genuine connection where you were just flirting with someone on the other side of the world, and now there's this lasting relationship between members of a small town in Ukraine and a small town here in the USA. Watching that happen in real time is pretty extraordinary. There are more opportunities than just that, though, to allow people to get involved. And one of them is the Tacoma Sister Cities International Film Festival. There have been multiple film festivals over the years. And this is where films from our sister cities representing that country are displayed here in Tacoma to help people, get a flavor for these other places and to start to become more intrigued about them. If you go to the Sister Cities website, tacomasistercities.org, you not only have an opportunity to get more involved just through helping, fundraise for a lot of these programs, but also looking at the huge array of programs that they're constantly doing. There's a holiday cooking around the world program that they're doing. There are pandemic pen pal programs that are starting to be developed right now. The Moon Festival down in Chinese Reconciliation Park is a big part of this, so on and so forth. One of my favorites, though, is actually the Tacoma Sister Cities Book Club. They meet the third Monday of every month at King's Books, right down in Tacoma there, sort of by the Stadium District. And each month, the book club focuses on one of the countries of our 13 sister cities, and it sort of aims to promote cultural understanding of international issues by reading contemporary novels with translations. It's got snacks, drinks, and they're always, I believe, themed. So, you know, you're going to get the full immersive experience when you go to the book club. And then afterwards, it is also available for purchase at King's Books if you're interested. So it's really a way for you just on your day-to-day life to become more involved in the sister cities relationship and really start to dig into it. But again, as I've said time and time again, that really begins by recognizing the gifts and exchanges that have happened throughout the history of Tacoma again and again. One of the, I guess, more tactile exchanges has been with our sister city, Biot, in France. And Biot is, like Tacoma, a glass city, not made of glass, but instrumental in the development of it. And so they have for, I guess, let's see, it was April 8th that the city of Tacoma became a sister city with Biot back in, oh, well, it's right there for you, 2012. And since that time, a lot of the focus has been on the relationship the sister cities have with glass. And there is an ambassador program between the Hilltop artists and students. And once every year, an ambassador from Tacoma's Hilltop artists gets sent over to Biot, and then Biot sends people over here to do glass art and to sort of exchange ideas and experiences. And a big part of that has been with this gentleman right here. This is Antoine, and I've got a cool promotional video of him. He does a lot of experimental glass, but he comes from a glass family. He and his father are on this, I believe it's like 16th century olive oil pressing building that has been converted into a glass art studio. And this is some of the stuff that he's working on right now. He has been a partner for the ambassador program since 2014 and is really instrumental in making sure that the students have, someone looking out for them while they're in France and so on and so forth. And he comes quite frequently to the Tacoma area and helps facilitate the development of glass art here. So here he is working with one of the students from the Hilltop Artists collection. He will also frequently do displays in the Museum of Glass Hot Shop, where he'll do live demonstrations of glass art down there. So just seeing the exchange of art and ideas between France because of our sister city relationship in Tacoma is awesome, right? Another one of the unofficial sort of markers that you'll see downtown is this is on the Evergreen College Tacoma campus. It is a mural that was facilitated by our sister city relationship with the people from George, South Africa. And it is at Ndebele. That's so difficult. I'm switching between Japanese, Chinese. I'm going through a lot right now. But the Ndebele mural right here is very much iconic for the mural art that you would see in George, South Africa. And to have it represented here on the Evergreen campus in Tacoma is exceptional and really a good visual reminder of that relationship that Tacoma Sister Cities has as well. So it's not just the gifts, it's not just the exchanges, but it's really, I guess, in the words of Mayor Strickland, who was instrumental in the Sister Cities relationship as well, she said that each sister city has proven to be a unique partner in helping promote peace, and enhanced global connectivity. The Sister City Network unites tens of thousands of citizen diplomats and volunteers who promote tirelessly to bring peace and understanding through programs and projects focusing on arts, culture, youth and education, and economic and sustainable development. And that's perfect for me. That's exactly it right there. It's encouraging people to expand their mind, to understand the connectivity between them and someone else, even in these countries that would have been traditional enemies in the past, and to abandon that belief and really look at the fact that we have so much in common. As these exchanges have gone on, this is Mayor Kenji Kitahashi and Mayor Victoria Woodards exchanging gifts on behalf of Kitakyushu and Tacoma back in 2019. And this was celebrating 60 years of friendship as sister cities. And this was done in the Japanese pagoda in Point Defiance Park, very near to the Shinto shrine. But again, not next to an authentic Japanese garden yet, although we're working on it. In sort of that umbrella zone too, the cherry trees, I think I have a shot of them here. So the cherry trees that are behind the Japanese pagoda in Point Defiance Park, I'll make this bigger for you guys, are not officially a gift from our sister city, Kitakyushu, but were given by the Consul General of Japan in honor of Green Tacoma Day. But it for me falls under that sort of similar umbrella of exchanges there. Similar to that is the Japanese garden, which is an authentically designed Japanese garden on Tacoma Community College's campus. It's a Japanese friendship garden from 2007, and it was designed in a collaborative effort between Tacoma and Japanese landscaping developers in Kitakyushu. And they wanted to bring that cultural connection and space to Tacoma Community College. You can see it here on the map really quick. It's on that left bottom right down there, right in the Tacoma Community College campus down there. And this is a very good example of what they're hoping the garden out at Point Defiance will eventually look like. And, you know, here's some facts and figures on it, but it was really designed just to foster that relationship and to give a space for people to exist in, to get that experience of being in Japan, which you can see from the photos, it does expertly, and is closely tied to the fact that Tacoma Community College has an exchange annually of about 30 students who go and study at Kitakyushu University. And pictured here are the 30 or so students from Kitakyushu University who attend classes at Tacoma Community College. And that becomes intrinsically welded into their character forever and always. It will change their life and ours. Also part of exchange for a long time now have been baseball exchanges. So for 60 years, Kitakyushu and Tacoma would have friendly matches. And if you go online, you can find this publication, the 6th annual Sister City Exchange is on like publishly.com. I'll send you guys the link here in a second. But it has all these great photographs where this was a team that was sent over to Japan to play. And then here's all the Japanese players that were coming over. This was in 1994, and they played in Chini Stadium, and there were these friendly matches, and they gave them the opportunity to come and experience the Tacoma area as well. It wasn't just like play the game and go home. And then I'm still trying to track down the exact location on this plaque, but one of the members who was really pivotal to creating that baseball exchange program was this gentleman right here. I don't know. Let's see if I can make it a little bit bigger for you here. Bob Minguez was, he played for the Cheney Studs. He was a humanitarian and activist in the city of Tacoma. And he really influenced the fact that these Japanese baseball players would come over and be a part of the program over here. And so his jersey is hanging in a Metro Parks case, but I'm trying to track it down because they won't tell me where. And needless to say, their office has been a little busy lately. So to bring it back to markers that you can see, if you take a look back on our map right now, we're going to go down to the Ting, or the shrine down here in Chinese Reconciliation Park. And this is, for me, I think, just one of the best examples of how a sister city relationship changes the future to be better than it has been in the past. Tacoma's relationship with the Chinese has traditionally, historically been, I'll say, abysmal. On November 3rd, 1885, the townspeople of Tacoma were responsible for rounding up anyone in the area who looked Chinese, driving them out of the city, and burning Chinatown to the ground. You've probably seen some of that from some of our previous tours. And then that was a long-standing stigma on Tacoma, and it's only very recently that the city of Tacoma has been working diligently with the people here to make amends for that relationship and make a brighter future. And Chinese Reconciliation Park is a huge part of that. So this began on September 22nd, 2010, and it was a collaborative process where Chinese artists and crafters built this thing and then shipped it to the city of Tacoma. And again, it was the current president of China, Xi Jinping, who was responsible for signing the agreement between our sister cities, just to give you some grand scope there. So all of this is original Chinese art that was brought here, and now it is part of Chinese Reconciliation Park and our narrative of making, our history here better. I've got some footage for it because it's just a beautiful place in Tacoma. So when you're looking at it from above here, you really get the sense of the beauty of it. And it's right on the edge of where Tacoma's Chinatown used to be. So very similar to the Japanese Friendship Garden with Kitakyushu being next to Ben Gilbert Park, which was the edge of Japantown before World War II. You see that these markers not only serve as visual reminders and literal touchstones to this relationship, but are in places that are prominent to that relationship as well. A lot of cultural exchange happens down here as well. The Moon Festival takes place annually down here, which you can find more about on the Tacoma Sister Cities website, and is just a fantastic experience of culture, food, music, dance, and an opportunity to really get to experience authentic Chinese culture here in Tacoma, of all places. To make it topical, it's because of the sister city relationship that Tacoma and Fuzhou have that dragon boat racing came to the Tacoma area. A lot of people have seen the dragon boat races happen here in the Foss Waterway. We've got some cool footage of that happening. And Chinese teams come to Tacoma and compete. And then these dragon boat racers have gone to China to compete in dragon boat races. I believe the team that we're watching right now is the Animaniacs, but there are significant teams and they're in these traditional dragon boats doing the races out here. More than just the fun and the camaraderie, though, there are really important experiences that have happened. So when COVID first started arriving in China, the city of Tacoma sent over a tremendous amount of medical supplies and protective equipment so that China could help deal with the early outbreak of that pandemic. And then following suit, as China started to get their situation under control, and we started to find ourselves in the beginning of a pandemic lockdown, China returned that favor. And so our sister city, Fuzhou, sent cases and cases of PPE over here to Tacoma when we needed it the most. Having this building in Tacoma as a marker, as a handcrafted piece of art that tells the story and the legacy, not of our past relationship, but of the relationship that we want to have moving forward, is invaluable to the city of Tacoma and to its people here, which is why I think our final marker is so influential. So in Theophos Park, right on the end of Theophos Waterway, is this globe. And the globe and the peace pole, which you're about to see, which were installed here, were established down in the park as a response to the 9/11 terrorist attacks. And it was a representation of how we have these deep relationships with cities around the world, and that in times of conflict or fear or war, we find ourselves reaching out to people and being at our absolute best. I don't think it's, I mean, the fact that this globe has been vandalized is kind of a telling moment, really, when you look at it. There is an effort under now, spearheaded by Tacoma Sister Cities organization, to refurbish it and to repair it. And that is like just the perfect metaphor, isn't it? To have Tacoma Sister Cities organization here with these markers, trying to promote peace and literally fundraising to help save the world. It speaks for itself. There is a peace pole that is next to the globe down here, which faces in several directions and has may peace prevail on earth in a variety of languages. And this is used as a gathering location for a lot of these international moments, giving people an opportunity to go down and experience different celebrations. But when you're looking at literally the world here, next to the port of Tacoma and all of the different parts of this Sister Cities relationship that it represents, I think it's the excellent opportunity to remind you that there is an active, dynamic relationship, not just between Tacoma and other cities around the world, helping to foster peace, boost the economy, and help people grow and exchange ideas, but that it's focused right here, and that you can visit these places any day to learn more about the relationships that Tacoma has with its sister cities. So with that, I'm encouraging each of you guys, I'm going to share some links in the comments moving forward here. But again, TacomaSisterCities.org, go to their volunteer page. They're leading a lot of exciting opportunities to beautify Tacoma, to develop new projects here, to bring students in as part of the exchange program, and to send people over. I can only imagine how incredible it has to be like a member of the Hilltop Artists Coalition and to be sent over to study glass art in the towns of France. So you guys have hopefully learned quite a bit tonight and gotten an opportunity to see some more of the markers and exchanges that Tacoma have been responsible for and help to broker a little bit more about. I know that there are members of the Tacoma Sister Cities organization in the chat tonight, and they'll be happy to answer questions you guys have if you want to put them up there. But I'm encouraging you, above all else, to let this be the first page of the novel. We need to, I mean, now more than ever, develop this belief that we are closer when we are connected, that we have more in common than we don't, and to continue to foster peace both globally and here. I can think of no more worthwhile cause. So if you guys have questions, leave them in the comments down below. I'm happy to do my best to answer them. If you're interested in becoming a part of the Tacoma Sister Cities organization or projects, again, the link is right down there on the bottom. And this is an excellent opportunity for you to either take an international cooking class, become a part of a book club, film festival, or to help sponsor someone's journey either to or from Tacoma from abroad. But if you guys have anything else, let me know. If not, I'm happy to just leave comments down there, and I'll see you guys soon. As always, I'm Chris, encouraging you to keep on exploring, both here in Tacoma and abroad. Have a good night.